Hello everyone, and welcome to Retro Brick Reviews, where today we will be taking a look at the LEGO Ideas set number 21306, The Beatles Yellow Submarine. This set was released in November of 2016 as the 15th set under the LEGO Ideas banner, and it came with 553 pieces, 4 minifigures, plus a fifth, I guess the best way to put it would be like an animal figure? I don't know. And it retailed for around $60. And without any more further ado, let's get right into those minifigures. While the submarine itself is pretty great, I, and a lot of other people, I'd imagine, got this set for the minifigures, because this set marks the first and potentially last time we'll be getting the Beatles in LEGO form. And to start with, here we have the late great John Lennon, and obviously all of these figures are based more off of how they appeared in the animated Yellow Submarine movie, rather than how they looked in real life, but I feel as though for all of these figures, the face prints, LEGO did a good job at sort of mixing the two. Like, I can look at this face and, yeah, I see John Lennon. And I think that's a good place to start, is the head print, which is not detailed at all. It's very simple, but it works very well. I mean, again, very simple. He doesn't even have a mouth, but I feel as though the eyes are very well done. The shaping here, it looks like John Lennon, which is very good in my opinion. And the hairpiece, if you couldn't tell, is just the Mutt Williams hair in black, and all the figures in the set get alternate face prints. And, John's here I'm not the biggest fan of. You can see that, first off, if I'm correct, yeah, the mustache is a bit smaller here, which I'm not the biggest fan of. And I don't really like how how it makes it look like he has buck teeth. Like, yeah, I know that that's how his smile looked in the movie, but I don't know, I'm not a big fan of this look. So I definitely have been displaying this guy, and I would recommend that you display him with this primary, more neutral expression. I haven't mentioned yet, John's accessory in this set is just a golden telescope that is a pretty common piece, but that's alright. And the torso print is very simple, again, just a few colors, but I like the pattern, and I also like the belt. It's a simple print, but I really like this torso. It's good. And on the back, you just have the continuation of that, with more of the puffy lime green collar with the nice shamrock designs, and a continuation of the belt. If I had one thing to not like about this figure, the alternate face is annoying, but I don't really mind, because you're gonna be displaying this set with probably all of the figures with their main, just neutral expressions, I'd imagine, but the thing that irks me is that they gave his legs 2 different colors. And yeah, I get it's supposed to replicate how they shaded it in the movie, but this just does not look good. First off, from a head-on angle, which is how, again, you'll probably be seeing this guy most of the time, it just looks weird. And even if you have him from the angle where it would be shaded from, it just doesn't look natural. So I feel as though they really should have just given him straight lavender legs. And I think it just would have looked a lot better, but getting past that, it is still a nice figure, and if we lift up his arms, you can see that he does actually get side leg printing, with just some nice yellow and red stripes, which adds some nice detail. And again, you get that on both legs, and that's another thing, because while I personally am definitely going to be keeping this set and its figures as is, I'd imagine that some other people would probably want to, maybe take some of these parts to customize, maybe take the heads and hair pieces from the Beatles and put them in more realistic outfits while using the torsos and legs for custom creations. But you can't really do that. For example, if these were just plain lavender pants, you could use them for, I don't know, sweatpants or something. But now you can't. Again, I don't really care about that. I just am a bit annoyed that the figure, again, I just don't like the two-tone legs, but aside from that, I can get past that, and this is a very nice figure. The hairpiece is well selected, if basic. The face print, at least the main expression, is very well done, and the torso, while simple, is also very well done. And the side leg printing was completely unnecessary, and they could have skipped it, but they included it, which I like. So yeah, that is John Lennon. So now let's move on to the second member of the Beatles, Sir Paul McCartney. Here we have Sir Paul McCartney, and above all the other figures in this set, I feel as though he's definitely a mixed bag, because there's some parts of this figure that I absolutely love, and then there are some parts that I absolutely do not. Let's start with his accessory this time, which is really the only truly unique accessory to this set. All the others get more basic things, but here we have this very nice 1x2 printed tile with love on it. And I don't know, I just really like that. That seems like something that belongs here with the Beatles, and I really like that print. It's a good print. But getting that out of the way, you can see that the hairpiece for this guy is a bit inaccurate to how he appeared in the movie. Because in the movie, his hair was mostly like this, but there was sort of it was sort of parted around the middle, so in the middle there was a big space of, like, just uncovered forehead, like a little slim triangle right in the center where there's no hair. Like an anti-widow's peak, I guess, it would be a good way to put it. And obviously, LEGO doesn't have any pieces in their parts catalog that they could use for that, and they certainly weren't going to make a new hairpiece for this figure, so they just went with the classic, I don't know what you call it, just the classic townsperson hair in black, which I think looks very good. It's the best piece LEGO has. I'm glad they didn't try to, like, just print the flesh tone onto the hair, because that would have looked awful. So yeah, I honestly kind of prefer this look over how he appears in the movie, so that's just, it's a weird thing, because I'm not sure where I stand on it, but it's fine. What's more than fine here is this face print, which I think is the best likeness in the set. This looks exactly like Paul McCartney to me. The eyes, the mouth, everything. This is perfect, and I love it. And just like John and all the other Beatles, he gets an alternate face, and this one, I mean, it's not as good as the primary face to me, but this still works. I can still look at this, and it looks a fair deal like Paul McCartney. I still do prefer the main face, but that alternate isn't too bad. The torso print is pretty simple, but unfortunately it does have a lot of lining to it, which I'm not a big fan of. Like, I get that that's sort of the more standard LEGO, like, obviously you're going to have lines around your detailing, but I think it's odd how most of the other figures in the set, just don't have outlining, which makes them look more, I don't know, psychedelic. But then Paul has all of his details outlined, aside from the colors on the tie. It's not a deal breaker, but it is a bit odd in my opinion. And also, I'm not a big fan of how wide the tie is. I feel as though that probably could have been a bit thinner. And also, just one more little thing. Sorry to nitpick so much on this torso, but I feel as though the colors are definitely too light for Paul here. Like, just looking at his costume in the movie, like, yeah, it is blue and purple, but the blue should definitely be a much darker blue, and honestly, the purple is nearly black. So while I don't entirely know whether they should have gone with just the purple we have here, if they should have made his main color black, I feel as though they definitely should have used dark blue for the undershirt, at least. Oh, and then, he has a little tiny, minuscule bit of back printing, but, yeah, so this figure is good and bad, and while I have given a couple nitpicks so far, I feel as though the real downfall of this figure is the atrocious design of the legs, because first off, just like John, he has the really weird two-tone legs, and to be fair, these look better because the colors are more similar. Like, with John, the two shades of purple were so radically different that they did not look like that at all, but if you put this at the right angle, yeah, I could sort of believe that. So that's not the issue. The issue is that the purple printing for the continuation of the coat just looks awful. First off, there's a huge cutoff between the belt and the legs, and I know that Lego can't print up to the very bottom of the torso or the very top of the belt, but why didn't they just make the belt piece purple? Not only would that have solved this little issue, but it would have helped a little bit to alleviate the other big problem. That's a problem that permeates a ton of minifigures, and Paul here just happens to be one of the poor victims. That being that we have coat on the front, no coat on the back or sides. And sides I can sort of get since double molding is expensive, but they could have easily just printed the purple onto the sides. They could have continued that over. And again, if they'd had the belt be purple, if they had the printing as well, he would look fantastic. And even if they didn't have the belt, and even if they just had the belt in purple without the printing continuing over, it would still look better than this. This just looks so awkward to me. So yeah, like, honestly, I've had this guy for a while, and I've been considering it, and I've even tried it out, and I personally just think he looks better if you give him plain tan legs. Can I say plain tan legs? There we go. I think I might have said it previously. I don't know. I'm tired. Anyway, but yeah, honestly, he looks better like that, because this printing, I feel, just really detracts from the figure and how just not good it is. But, again, aside from the legs, this is a very nice figure, especially the phenomenal face print. So, now let's move on to the third figure of this set, which is George Harrison. And to start with, his accessory is probably the most eye-catching of the four, aside from maybe Paul's tile, but I feel as though this is more visually striking at first glance. It's a submarine motor, which is made up of two pieces. We have this existing 1x1 round tile with the sort of, not chrome, but more metallic silver printed up top. That's common. But then we have the Nexonite's robot body in bright green, and I'm not sure if this is exclusive. I didn't really keep up with Nexonites after the first wave, so I have no idea what colors this part came in. I'm going to assume that it's not exclusive, but even if it is, I mean, I suppose it's kind of cool. I don't know. Not too interesting to me, but it's a nice piece to get. But anyway, for George, you can see that he's definitely the most simple of the four. Starting off, no leg printing. All the others have leg printing. This figure does not. Not on the front, not on the sides. But that's fine, because he doesn't need it. The torso, as you can see, does have the lining on it, but of course this is necessary lining to show the, obviously the two sides of the coat and the buttons, which is necessary. So I don't mind the lining here, as I did on Paul, because here it looks more natural. I don't know. Oh, and then on the back, just like Paul, he has the minimal back printing. Then for the hairpiece, this is actually an exclusive hairpiece. I know it was when this set came out, and I believe it still is. This is the LEGO Star Wars Rebels Sabine Wren hairpiece, but cast in black with no printing, which was an interesting choice. Personally, like, while it is a nice piece to get, I don't think it looks very accurate. And I mean, yeah, it has a very, like, almost a beehive look to it on top. I don't think that was the original intent, but that's just sort of what I think when I see it. And I don't know, like, the hair at the back, the perm, like, I don't know. This hairpiece, I feel as though it looks very feminine. I don't know if that's entirely correct, but it doesn't look right on Ringo here. Did I say Ringo? I meant George. Sorry, George. Anyway. And, it's weird because his hair is also much shaggier than this in the movie. Like, it is nowhere near this clean, so I feel as though it would have made more sense if instead of using that hairpiece, Lego had instead given him the classic Harry Potter hairpiece. And it's debatable which one is better. This one definitely has less detail, but I feel as though this one better captures his look in the movie. But I feel if you really want to succeed, then now in 2018, I feel as though the easily best option is to give him the new Harry Potter hairpiece, which just looks fantastic on him, in my opinion. I mean, the part where the scar goes is just in the same place it is for George's hair in the movie. And yeah, it just looks really good. But enough about that, let's move on with the figure at hand. And the face print here is pretty good. I'd say it's probably my least favorite of the set. Like, it doesn't really stand out as George Harrison to me, but it's still a good print and a good attempt. Turning it around, I feel as though this face honestly might do a bit of a better job. He's definitely smiling still. All of the alternate face prints are smiles, but this one looks maybe a bit embarrassed, and I don't know, I like this face print. Yeah, I think this works a bit better for George as a likeness, maybe. I don't know, but overall, that was George Harrison. A very nice minifigure. And now let's move on to the last of the 4 Beatles, and the last minifigure in the set, that being Mr. Conductor himself, Ringo Starr, who is probably my favorite figure in the set, to be completely honest. I don't know, I just really like how he looks. Starting off with his accessory, it's just a 2x2 black round tile, and it's fine. I think it's supposed to represent a record, and I mean, maybe it would have been better if it was printed, but this is fine. I don't mind this. It's not, like, horrible. It's just a bit of a nitpick. But aside from that mediocre accessory, the figure here is fantastic. First off, his hairpiece is the Ron Weasley bowl cut piece in black, which definitely isn't exclusive now. It appeared in a couple of different releases for the new 2018 Harry Potter Fantastic Beasts lineup. But I think at the time this might have been exclusive. I'm not positive, but I think that it may have been. But it looks nice. The face print, I feel, is very well done. I'd say that Paul has the best face print, but Ringo isn't too far behind. This looks a lot like Ringo to me. Like, the eyes and the mouth really help. Also, the eyebrows, like, this is just a really good face print. He also has by far my favorite alternate face, and he's the only one of these 4 figures that I actually do display with the alternate face, where he has this much more jovial smile, which, I don't know, I just really like this face print. I think it really suits him. The torso is very simple, but I think it works really well. It's just this red and dark blue striped shirt with this nice orange and lavender tie, and I think it works very well. Looks like he does in the movie. Looks very psychedelic, which is good for the movie, I feel. And, I mean, again, going back to that customization angle, I mean, again, I'm not doing this, but if you wanted to use the torsos and legs from these figures for other purposes, this could work perfectly well for just, I don't know, like a clown. It's just a very good torso print. And honestly, with how good it is, I'm honestly pretty surprised that LEGO hasn't decided to shove it in some LEGO City set or Creator set as a clown. So yeah, very good torso print. He definitely has the best back printing of any of these guys, with the stripes. I mean, it's very simple still, but I mean, it's better than the rest of these guys having just a little black line and then the color of their undershirt. And much like John, Ringo also gets side leg printing with the yellow and red stripes, but it works much better here because his legs are the same color. And I think that, like, that's just good. I much prefer this to what they did with John and Paul. So yeah, that is Ringo Starr, the 4th and final member of the Beatles, as I attempt to get his accessory back into his hand. So yeah. And while he is the last minifigure, per se, there is one other figure in the set, one more character, so let's take a look at him. So here we have Jeremy Hillary Boob, PhD, and, yeah, this is an interesting figure. I'm starting off with his accessory. It's a green apple. I've gotten this piece for years, nothing special about it. It's an apple. Nothing to say about it at all. Anyway, for the figure itself, you can see that LEGO decided to reuse the LEGO Nexonites, I don't remember what the little creatures were called, but, the little creatures, let me think, you got, they weren't too common. I think you might have gotten, like, one in the $50 set, I think and then you got 2 in, like, the huge, like, tank castle. The Fortrex? I don't know. Anyway, it's one of these little guys, and for what it's worth, I think the mold repurpose is pretty good. Like, it's definitely the best LEGO could have done for this guy. And, yeah, he looks alright. I feel as though maybe the the medium nougat color might be a bit too light for him. I feel as though maybe he should have just been in, like, a normal brown, but that's alright. But the mask print is pretty well done. You have the chin and the nose protruding, and the eyes as well. It's a nice print. You can see that his arms are articulated, only points of articulation on the figure, and he does have some holes in the side of his head that LEGO couldn't do anything about, so I don't really mind. And then on the back, he has a pink tail, which is just the LEGO, this piece usually used for, like, lights or sirens or something like that. Just in pink, which I believe is an exclusive recolor. I haven't seen it before or since in pink, but it might have appeared somewhere else. But yeah, that is Jeremy Hillary Boob. A very simple figure, but a very nice one. And he is the last figure we have to take a look at in this set. So now let's move on to the first build. So here we have this minifigure stand that the set includes that you can use to obviously store your 4 Beatles minifigures, and this is a pretty lame stand in my opinion. Like, I feel as though LEGO could have done a lot more with this, and usually with stands for collectible minifigures, not like, blind bags, but minifigures that are collectible, LEGO will do better than this. Like, for example, when LEGO did the Ghostbusters Ecto-1 in 2014, they got a very nice Ghostbusters-esque stand. This year, when LEGO did the enormous nanoscale Hogwarts set, the 4 founders got a very nice Hogwarts-themed stand. These guys get a gray stand that is rectangular. I mean, it's just plates, 4 light bluish gray minifigure stands, and then at the front you get a 2x4 printed tile that says Yellow Submarine, which is alright. I would have preferred if it said The Beatles, but I can accept this. This is that's nice. I like that tile, but the rest of this stand they could have done better. I feel as though they should have done, like, a cloud design, like what they did with the base for the main submarine. Like, just have it, use some round white pieces, make it look like they're standing on the clouds. I don't know, I just feel as though this stand is a bit lazy, but again, the stand isn't the main focus of the set. The main focus is the figures, which will add a couple nitpicks about them. Overall, they're very good. And, oh well, what's the other focus? Alright, the Yellow Submarine. So without any more further ado, let's get on to that, shall we? So here we have the Yellow Submarine, and to start with, let's remove it for a second so we can get a better look at how LEGO designed its stand. To start with, you can see that it is just held up by a pair of stacks of 2 2x2 clear cylinder bricks, which looks nice. And I mean, you just have some cloud designs, lots of 4x4 and 6x6 round pieces. Underneath it's very simple, but it gets the job done. And yeah, and then in the front you just have this 2x2 jumper with which you can attach Jeremy onto the front. So yeah, so now just reattaching the submarine back onto the stand, let's take a look at the craft. And also we'll remove Jeremy so he doesn't distract. To start with, just the side profile, which I think is the most important thing here. Looks very nice and looks a lot like how the submarine does appear in the movie. The set actually, doesn't use an excessive amount of curved pieces. I mean, yeah, you do get a bunch, but a lot of the details here are actually using slopes and also just, brick and plate building. So I think it's really impressive how, from the side, this does look very curved. I'm particularly impressed with this little section up here, which is actually made up of, you can see, just a couple of different layers of these curved pieces, but it ends up looking like just one continuous curve when viewed from the side, which is very nice. Same with these little corner tile pieces that in the final product look less like just flat corner tiles and more like they're continuing some of the sort of rounded slope, like going up here, which looks very nice, and I'm very impressed with how LEGO designed this. You can also see that this is definitely not to minifigure scale, because you have 2 sets on each side of portholes, and obviously those should be portholes large enough to where you can at least see a minifigure face fully through it. And they should probably even be a bit larger than that. I'm like this is probably built to half scale. Like, I feel as though those portholes should probably be minifig scale, like 2x2 tiles, but they're 1x1s. So yeah, this model isn't in scale, but that's okay since it still looks very good. And obviously, if it was in scale, this set would be prohibitively expensive for most people. Starting off directly from the front, yeah, I feel as though this definitely doesn't look nearly as good from the front, but it's an alright angle. Here you can see some more of this how this curve is accomplished. Artificial curve, really, although there are some real curves in there. Here at the front, you also see this 4x4 dome piece, which is used for the very front. And down here you have some snot building to accomplish this, with a couple studs left open, which is fine by me. Up here you have slopes, and then here you have these curved pieces, and even some anti-curved pieces upside down. You can see you have this red stripe going along, which is not printed, which I'm glad of. I like that it's brick-built, since it does more reinforce how this is a LEGO version of the Yellow Submarine, and not just any model. And yeah, also, big props to this nice printed panel piece. You get 1 on each side, and that looks very nice and accurate. Here at the back, you have some play features we'll get into in a minute, but you'd have the 2 rudders, both of which... rudders isn't the right word, like the fans, I guess, both of which can spin. I have them put in a bit tight at the moment, but if you loosen them up, they can spin pretty well. Near the front, you have, I believe, this is the rudder, and this can just move side to side to steer the sub. Also, moving up top, we have another example of the snot being minifigure scaled, where we have this nice railing around the top that uses hot dog pieces. And yeah, you can definitely not fit a figure up here, or, I mean, I guess maybe you could fit a figure, like, right here, but it doesn't look right. So, yeah, anyway... So yeah, I do really like the use of the hot dog pieces, though that does look very nice. Creates a very good look for the railing, and I'm honestly impressed. Like, I would never have thought of doing that by myself, so that is a good idea. And then up top you have the 4 periscopes, which use Technic pieces, including the new for late 2016 macaroni pieces, which obviously, again, were new for November 2016. They're no longer new, but they were, I believe their first appearances were in this set and in a couple of the LEGO Batman movie sets from the end of 2016. But anyway, I did mention a couple of play features, and yeah, you do have some interior here. First things first, you can lift off this little section, which just has a little hole in there where you can store some accessories. So, and if you put them in right, you can store everyone's accessories, so let's see if I remember the correct order. So, you have to start with the Submarine engine, since it is the largest and takes up a lot of space. So just set that in there. Then put in the telescope, since it also takes up some space. And then at last just set in the 2 tiles, because, I mean, they're tiles, they don't take up they take up not a lot of space. And can we close it up? Yep, that works. So yeah, you can just store their accessories in there, but why would you do that? And it's not fully closed up, but if you finagle with it to get it right, it can fully close up, but I'm lazy, so I'm not going to do that unless I got it right now. Did I? I mean, no, but I'll just set it like this so it kind of looks like it. But the main feature is that you can lift off this whole top section, and then inside, you have a full interior. And actually, this is bugging me that I can't get this right, so I'll just dump these out for now. But anyway, and your interior here actually is very well done, and you get a ton of cool printed pieces here. So, start with, you can see that you can't fit all 4 Beatles in here, and I'll be showing it in a minute. At the front, you have a steering wheel and a full chair for whoever you want to be steering. and then the other 3 just sit on jumpers. Yeah, I'm starting up at the front. You have this pretty okay printed 1x2x2 brick with this sort of like very light blue color, and then some dials and switches, which is an okay print. Not my favorite, but it's alright. And you also have a couple of printed 1x1 round tiles, one in white and one in trans pink. Those both look good. Turning around to the back, you have a second screen, which looks much better in my opinion, although a bit of it is covered up by those little 1x1 tiles, and these are 2 different ones. You get one in light blue and one in pink. Turning this around to the side, you get a couple more of those tiles, a nice 2x4 that just shows some piping and valves, and that 2x2 round piece, which is a nice round screen. Over here, as I destroy my set, there we go. We have this nice calendar with 1968 on it, as well as a nice clock. And these are, I believe, both tied into the scene where they mess with time travel. I don't know, it's been a bit since I've seen the movie, so I kind of forget. Sorry about that. But yeah, and again, you can't fit all 4 figures in here. So you want to get all of the figures in a nice seated position. And I'll just put John at the front. I'll put them in the order they go on the stand, which is the order in which you pull them out of the bags. Then we'll set Paul on the first set of jumpers. Should probably actually try to set him on them instead of just lightly pushing him in. And yeah, it can be a bit difficult if you're doing this with only one hand, as I am currently. But and next up we have George. Yeah, it definitely is a tight fit. Maybe it would it would definitely be better if you put their hands down some. Don't know why I've been putting them so far up this whole time. And then we'll just put Ringo here in the back. I'll lean them all back a bit so it looks more natural. And yeah, you can fit all 4 Beatles. They all look nice. They all have... I mean, it is tough to get them in there, but when you have them all in there, they actually look pretty comfortable. They don't look too squished, which is nice. And of course, when you have them all in there, you can still close down the top of the model. So yeah, so that is the yellow submarine build. Overall, I think this is a very nicely designed ideas set. And again, while my favorite thing here are the 4 minifigures, this build is very nice, and yeah, honestly, this is probably one of the best licensed ideas sets for me. Like, I think this looks leagues better than what LEGO did for the DeLorean Time Machine and the Ecto-1. And, LEGO is improving all the time, and, it's tough to say, like, I think I like this more than the Tron set. Not sure if I like it more than... Yeah, very different styles, but this is one of the best licensed idea sets. Probably one of the best licensed sets in general. I mean, for what you get for the price, this is very good. And while that is the very last build included with the set, we're not entirely done, as we still are going to take a quick look at the box and instruction manual before we wrap this up, so let's do that now. Now, LEGO idea sets always have very high quality and nicely designed boxes, and this set is no exception. From the front, you have this very nice psychedelic pattern going around the edges. In the top left, you have the LEGO logo, as well as the Beatles Yellow Submarine name, I guess. It's not really a logo, but anyway, you have the name. In the middle, you have a very simple picture showing off the 4 figures on their stand, as well as the set. And if you look closely behind the figures, you can see that the submarine is on its cloud stand, but it is hidden and the colors are muted, so it's not very noticeable. And then off to the side, you have Jeremy. You can also see in the left the age recommendation, set number, and piece count. And then on the right, you have the LEGO Ideas label, with this set being number 15. Turning this box around to the left side, you can see a render of the submarine, as well as John and Paul as they appeared in the movie, and you can sort of see what I was talking about with Paul's hair. And then on the right, you have a different render with Ringo and George, and you can also see what I was talking about with George's hair. Turning the set around to the back, you can see the 4 figures, as well as the set showing you that you can remove the little luggage compartment, as well as take the top off to get into the interior. It also shows the dimensions of the set, which is 25 centimeters by what does that say? I just haven't really looked at that. Okay, so it's 25 centimeters by 6.7 centimeters, which is about 10 inches by 2.5. And then you have more of that pattern continuing around, and in the top right, we have a blue meanie. On top of the box, we have the 4 minifigures depicted at actual size. Normally, LEGO only does 1 figure as an actual size reference, so it's great to see all 4. Creates a nice consistent look, and then here you just have some nice grassy design. But of course, LEGO Ideas boxes, again, are very high quality, so they're not just detailed on the outside, but also on the inside. And so first off, most of the inside is the very nice black design, which isn't, like, it's just cardboard, but it looks good. And instantly we can see more of the box being revealed. Here we can see the 4 Beatles in their Sergeant Pepper outfits from the opening of the movie, with the text, "All you need is love," all over the background. And then, well, the sides are the same, those don't change, but up here you can also see the sides of this part of the box, which just has more of that pattern, which is alright. And then inside, you have a really cool reference to the movie, where over here, let me try to get rid, I'm not going to get rid of the shadow, so I guess if I do it like that, but anyway, you can see the submarine with the 4 portholes showing the animated versions of John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr waving. And then over here, we have their minifigure versions waving. And for some reason, like, we have them lined up, like we have John, Paul, George, Ringo, and then over here we have Ringo, George, Paul, John. So, like, John is lined up with John, which isn't accurate to the movie. Like, this is, again, from the time travel scene. So, like, they really should have had it be the same design on both sides, just obviously this one using minifigures instead of the animation. But despite that little oversight, this is still quite well done. And it is a very nice little reference, since, again, normally LEGO sets would just have brown cardboard for the inside, and even most Ideas sets would still leave the insides of the box, aside from the black finish, completely blank. So this is a very nice touch. And yeah, I think this box looks very good, and it does a good job to sell the set. So yeah, that is the box. Before we finish up this video, let's take a quick look at the instruction manual. Now, normally I don't show instruction manuals in my videos, but this one I will, because this manual has a bit of extra stuff going on as opposed to the norm, but this isn't going to become a normal thing, don't worry. Anyway, to start with, the manual, as could be expected, is a higher quality than what we normally get. The binding is more rectangular, like a book. Yeah, you can see that. It's definitely more sturdy, and the paper is of much higher quality. You'd be hard-pressed to accidentally tear this. On the front, you just have the same image that we saw on the front of the box. And then inside, we have the 5 figures, as well as a write-up about the set and the movie. And while I'm not going to read all of it, I'll just show it here, so if you want to read it, you can pause. So this is the stuff about the set. And then this is the stuff for the movie. Okay. And then we just have that in a bunch of different languages. Then, well, we just have the manual. And then if we turn this to the back, we have a word from the fan designer, Kevin Setso? I'm not entirely sure if that's how you pronounce it, but yeah, there's that. And then here's the something from the Lego designer. So yeah, and then you have that, you have the piece count, and then at the end, you have a little advertisement for just the LEGO Ideas program in general, and then at the back, you just have a thing to tell you to do a survey based on it. So yeah, that is the manual. Nice stuff. Nothing too complex, obviously. I mean, it's a manual, but it gets the job done, and it does more than it has to. So yeah, so that is the very last thing I have to review for this set. So now let's give the final verdict, shall we? Okay, so let's get real for a second. I know I've done a lot of nitpicking throughout this video, but I just want all of you to know that, again, that it's just that, nitpicking. Aside from Paul's legs, there is not a single thing in this set that I would consider to be anything more than less than perfect. Because, again, that's the only thing. Everything else here is at the very least good. Most of it is great. This John figure, aside from the legs, is fantastic. This Paul figure, aside from the legs, is fantastic. This Ringo figure, while probably the worst of the four, is pretty good, and this Ringo figure in its entirety is fantastic. The Submarine build is fantastic. I mean, like, this set is so much better than it had to be, and you can tell so much effort was put into this. This is, as of the moment, my personal favorite licensed ideas set. I'm not going to say it's my favorite idea set, because I really do like some of the more zany ideas we've gotten that are not licensed sets, like the pop-up book and the ship in a bottle. I love those. But this is also just very well done. It's a phenomenal set. If you have any interest in the Beatles or the movie, I would totally recommend you get this set, because it is phenomenal. I cannot recommend it enough. A+, bravo. So thank you all so much for watching this rather late review video. Like, seriously, this set came out over 2 years ago. I don't even think you can find it on shelves anymore. But hey, I'm reviewing it, because why not? So yeah, and when I say am reviewing, I mean I have reviewed, because this video is like nearly 45 minutes long. So I'm going to cut it before it actually becomes 45 minutes long. So yeah. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Farewell, everyone.